Hi everyone, my name is Maddie, welcome back to my channel and welcome to my June 2020 book haul. So I didn't think I would ever do a book haul on this channel. I've been being really good recently. I've only been buying maybe 4 or 5 books a month and I often read them pretty quickly after I get them. So I always thought there wouldn't be really any point to me doing a book haul because by the time I get to haul them at the end of the month, I would have already told you about them in either a vlog or some other video. But this month I got too many books. There was a whole series of reasons. It was my birthday, I finished uni, I got my results from uni, I started BookTube and a couple lovely people gifted me things. So I've ended up with, I don't know how many books, I need to count, but a lot of books. So I actually have 17 books to tell you about today, which is absolutely insane. That's so much more than I normally get, but I'm super excited for all of them. So I'm pretty much going to get straight into it. The order I'm going to do them in is just sort of, I've categorised them a bit, so we're going to go with it, but let's get started. So the first one I want to talk about is The Love Hypothesis by Laura Steven. This was gifted to me by Connie at Connie Reads for my birthday. She's an absolute sweetie, please go and check her out. This is a book about a girl named Caro who is sort of what she considers average, but she's a massive physics geek. And her aim is to sort of seduce the popular boy who she's had a crush on for forever. And to do this, she ends up basically finding a pill which should make her very attractive. Along with this come a whole host of other things, and I will not spoil anything, but this is actually an LGBT romance, and yeah, I have actually already read this and I really enjoyed it. The second book that was gifted to me was completely out of the blue. I didn't expect it at all, and that is Tweet Cute by Emma Lord, and this was sent to me by Emily Reads on Twitter. Again, she'll be linked down below. I'm so excited to get to this one. I'm actually thinking I'm probably going to be reading it in July. And this follows two people who I get the impression have a big rivalry on Twitter. They run the Twitter for their respective companies and have a big rivalry online, but then they meet separate to this in person, end up falling for each other and then discovering that they are rivals. So I get the impression, and from what people have said, that this is a super cute romance and also rivals to lovers, which I absolutely adore, so I'm super excited to read this one. I also just wanted to say now, I'm going to say I'm super excited to read every single one of these books, and it'll probably get repetitive, but I genuinely am, so sorry if I say that exact phrase about 20 times. So the next book I hauled is actually a little bit different. This is Out of Love by Hazel Hayes. Hazel Hayes is a YouTuber who I've watched on and off, but I actually really wanted to read this because I follow Dodie quite closely, who is friends with Hazel, and she loved this book, so I really wanted to pick it up off her recommendation. The reason this is slightly different is I actually helped fund this book being published. It was on a website called Unbound, where you can donate an amount of money, get a copy of the book, and it helps it be published. So I did that, I got a copy of the book, and I really want to get to this because it sounds brilliant. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I think it's basically about the destruction of a relationship. I remember hearing Hazel say the title has loads of meaning. It's falling out of love, it's running out of love, it's all sorts of different things. And I love a good romance, but I also really like reading about the intricacies of a romance and ways it can go wrong. Like one of my favourite films is all about seeing how a relationship falls apart. So I'm super intrigued to get to this one, and I have a feeling it's going to hit me really hard and I'll probably end up in tears by the end of it. So the next category I'm going to really quickly run through is going to actually be novellas. I've picked up a surprising number of novellas recently, which is actually extremely convenient because Becca's Bookoplathon is coming up soon, which is a 48-hour readathon, so I need quick books. And one of these was gifted to me, which is A Taste of Honey by Kaya Shanti Wilson. And I don't know a huge amount about this. I want to go in quite blind because obviously it being a novella, I don't want to spoil myself because there's not that much to it. But I do know it's fantasy, I know it's LGBT, and just look at the cover. The cover itself is just beyond stunning. And I'm so excited to get to this. I've seen it recommended by so many people. Most recently, I saw Samantha Shannon recommending it, and I'm thrilled to read it. And this was gifted to me by my mum for my birthday. But I have since discovered, thanks to Trey over at Faye Trey, that this is actually a companion novel, and really you should read the first book first. So having found out that it was a companion novel, I of course had to go out and buy the first one so I could read them, and this is Sorcerer of the Wild Deeds, again by Kaya Shanti Wilson. I don't know much about this. Being novellas, I really want to go in quite blind. And again, it's fantasy, it looks phenomenal. I will always read a fantasy novella. So yes, super excited to get to both of these. So from here out, all the other books I'm going to talk about I actually bought for myself, which I should probably be embarrassed about, but all of them were to either celebrate my birthday or graduating uni. So I'm kind of don't really mind that I went on a bit of a book buying spree, also because I bought absolutely 0 books in May, so I'm just going to pretend half of these are from May and that makes it less bad. So continuing with another novella, I have The Monster of Ellenhaven by Jennifer Giesbrecht. Sorry about the pronunciation, that was dodgy, I know. But this just seems like a really, really eerie book. Just reading you sort of the tagline from the inside. A darkly compelling fantasy of revenge. A tale about murder, a monster, and the sorcerer who loves both. So that instantly grabbed me. I've heard good things about this, like from Riley Marie, really enjoyed it. And I think it's male again, so LGBT, always something I'm up for. And it just sounds so interesting. And also I've read a lot of Tor novellas in the past, and literally any Tor novella that comes out I want to read because I've just loved all the ones I've read so far. So this sounds super eerie and super great, and also I'm obsessed with this cover. It's designed by Jeffrey Allen Love, who is an artist I actually follow and have followed for a very long time and love his art, so that's just an added bonus because I think the cover is stunning. So the next novella I have is All Systems Red by Martha Wells, which is the first book in the Murderbot Diaries. Again, I do not know the plot of this, but I do sort of know the premise. It's future, I think it's dystopian, and it follows this basically android-ish robot who refers to itself as Murderbot. I don't know what it gets up to, but I know there are a lot of books in this series and all of them get beyond rave reviews from people I follow and authors I follow. So I had to pick this up as I need to get more into sort of straight sci-fi instead of just fantasy sci-fi, and it being short, it's a really good place to start, and I'm pretty certain I'll read this soon and end up picking up probably all the other books because it definitely sounds like the sort of thing I will love. And then the last novella I have, I just couldn't be more excited for, and that is Ajax Penumbra 1969 by Robin Sloan. I read Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore earlier this year, and it is one of my favourite books ever. I loved it. It just brought me so much joy, and I really, really did adore it. And then I was looking at it on Goodreads the other day and noticed it said, you know, Mr. Penumbra #1, and I was like, that normally means there's a sequel, and if there's a sequel to this book, I need it. And sadly there's not, but there is this, which is a very, very short prequel all about Ajax Penumbra, who owns the 24-Hour Bookstore. Getting hold of this book was not easy. There are so few print copies of this book around, but I was lucky to find one quite cheap, and it's actually in way better condition than I was expecting it to be. The story in this is only about 80 pages, but it's 80 pages I very much want to read, as I will take anything about that world that I can get. And, you know, Robin Sloan, if you did want to write a sequel, I'm not going to complain. So yes, very, very, very excited to pick this up, and I will be reading this in July, so I'm reading it super soon. So the next 2 books are actually books I bought from Waterstones. I realise in the world at the moment all non-essential trips should be absolutely minimal, but I was in town for another errand and I want to support Waterstones and also wanted to try and get Waterstones editions of both of these books, so I thought I'd just stick my head in, and I did actually manage to track both down. The first being House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas. This book is huge. I can't get over how big it is, but I have only read ACOTAR. I've never read Throne of Glass. I've not continued with the ACOTAR series yet, and I didn't love ACOTAR, but for whatever reason, I have succumbed to the hype and I want to read House of Earth and Blood. Everyone just loves it so much, and it does sound like a really good adult fantasy with shapeshifting and werewolves and vampires, I think, a bit of everything. So it sounds super good, and it's huge, but it's also so pretty, so I had to get it and I caved, and I'll read this at some point. It's huge, I don't know when. But I feel like I'll probably love it when I read it. I hope, because I've got it now. So yeah, I'm jumping on the Sarah J Maas hype, and I'm gonna give this one a go. But then the other one I picked up, I was so thrilled to get because I could not order a Waterstones edition online. They just weren't really around anymore, they'd sold out, and that is The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin. From what I know, this follows personas of different cities, so there's like Brooklyn and Manhattan and Sao Paulo, and I don't know exactly what's happening. I get the impression though that something's going very wrong and the city is possibly going to die, and these personas have to save it. I also think this has bi-rep and is LGBT, so that's a massive plus. But I've been wanting to read N.K. Jemisin for a really long time, and this is not actually the last N.K. Jemisin book in this haul. So I've heard as this being a standalone, it's quite a good starting point, so I thought I'd pick it up, and look at those edges. How could I not get that? And also, I just have to show you this because it's so cool. I'll try and include a screen recording over this bit of audio. But if you point a phone at this cover, it's animated if you use Google Lens, and I have a Pixel so I can. And I just can't believe that Orbit have done that. It's such a cool added feature of the cover, and I'm kind of obsessed with it. So all the rest of the books I have to talk about, I kind of ordered in one go. This was when I finished uni and it had just been my birthday, and so I just sort of did a giant online order and got all of these in one go, plus a few of the ones we've already spoken about. So I'm gonna go straight in. I don't know what order we're gonna go in, but we're gonna get into it. Okay, I'm going to start with the only contemporary book I got, and that is Camp by Elsie Rosen. I vaguely know what this is about, but I ordered this because I loved Jack of Hearts, which came out, I think, maybe 2 years ago now. And I thought it was such an amazing book, and so I've been following Elsie Rosen ever since, so as soon as this was announced, I knew I was going to want to get it. And this follows two boys at a musical theatre summer camp. Top marks for that. That sounds brilliant, and I'm sure romance and a lot of other things ensue, which just sounds like the kind of book I would love. I mean, if you put the word musical theatre anywhere in the synopsis, I want to read it. If you put musical theatre summer camp in the synopsis, then I'm picking it up instantly. So this will be reread very soon. So the first of the fantasy books I ordered was Fortuna Sworn by KJ Saturn. I know this is fae, I know it's romance. I actually get the impression there's two rival fae kings, which sounds amazing. I've not read many fae books at all, but I'm definitely up for giving them a go, and this has got amazing reviews from people such as Ashley at Frolic Through Fiction and Becca at Becca in the Books. So I thought it'd be a really fun, quick one to pick up, and I cannot wait to get to this. It sounds so good, and I'm dying to read it. So the next one I'm kind of nervous about, and that's The Shadow Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I think this sounds amazing, but it's got some really mixed reviews. Like, a lot of people I trust their opinions have either DNF'd it or given it a really low rating, but then some other people I have a similar reading taste to have given it a really high rating. So I don't know which to trust, but we're going to give it a go. This follows a girl who wants to basically take over the throne, and so her plan is to seduce and marry the prince or king and then kill him. However, she discovers she's not the only one trying to do this, and then she also falls in love with him. So that sounds exactly like my cup of tea. I'm hoping the execution is as good as I think it will be, because it sounds like a book I could love, but we'll just have to wait and see, because I am a little bit nervous to get to this one. Next is another recent release, also recommended by Ashley at Frolic Through Fiction. I feel like I'm just buying all of her recommendations at the moment, and that is Bone Crier's Moon by Catherine Purdy. This follows a girl who wants to become a bone crier, I think, and to do so, she has to kill her true love. And that, just as a concept, fascinates me, and then add in a whole extra plot and her really falling in love with someone, and it just sounds phenomenal. So I'm super excited to pick this up. I also do really like the cover. I think it's so atmospheric. So hopefully again soon, but we'll have to see. And then the final three I have are all adult fantasy, and we're just sort of gonna work down the list. So first is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin. From what I know, this is a bit of a strange one, but from what I've managed to gather from like reading vlogs and people reading it, this is about a world which keeps destroying itself. It keeps having natural disaster after natural disaster, and I get the impression the community is basically just living to rebuild it over and over and over again. But as I've said, I've heard amazing things about N.K. Jemisin. This book series, every single book won the Hugo Award for its respective year, which is insane, so it has to be really good. And I've also heard it has polyamory in it, which I don't think I've ever read, and I'm not happy about that fact, so this will solve that. Yeah, I've heard it's a bit strange, but I'm actually quite in the mood for like not particularly linear, slightly harder to understand books, so I think this is absolutely going to satisfy that. Plus, I'm sure Katie at Katie Brightness Reads will be super happy with me for reading this, because she loves N.K. Jemisin, and I feel like I'm letting her down by not having read it yet. Next is Foundry Side by Robert Jackson Bennett, which I got the recommendation for this from Reagan at Peruse Project. She read and loved this, and I thought it sounded really interesting. I think it has something to do with someone being able to manipulate elements. For example, if you touch stone, you could maybe change its structure and manipulate it. And so through this, someone becomes an absolutely phenomenal thief. And that sounds like such a cool concept, and all of his books get really good reviews, so I thought this would be a good starting point, but he's definitely an author I want to look into exploring more. And I also think this might be LGBT. I'm not sure its own voices, but like anything that might be LGBT instantly appeals to me. And then the final book I have to haul is City of Brass by S.A. Chakraborty. This is a huge book, but I'm so excited. I'm actually reading this in July with a whole group of amazing booktubers. We're doing a big buddy read because there's quite a few of us who haven't read it yet, and we feel like we definitely should have because it's a bit of a booktube fave. But I do not know what this is about at all, and I don't want to. I'm starting it tomorrow, so I feel like I can just wait and read it. but I get the impression it has sort of Egyptian influence, which is definitely not something I've read, but definitely something I want to. And it gets the most phenomenal reviews, and the final book in the trilogy has just come out, so I feel like I need to do some serious catching up and read this before I get spoiled for the whole thing, so I really don't want that to happen. So that is the insane amount of books I got in June. I don't think I'm even going to try and hold them all up, because that's just going to end in disaster, because I don't think I can hold 17 books at once. So I'm just sort of gonna end this video here and say thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like more content from me. All my other socials are linked down below if you'd like to connect in any other way. But thank you for watching, bye, and I'll see you in the next one.